Got a hot war going on back in Iran. The investigation into Nolan Wells and his very, very unusual death. He was amongst a group of white boys, his friends. He was in like major division football. He was a good football player. He was in excellent physical condition, but he was left on the island. Boys that he went with, all of their parents are like high up muckety mucks, like judges and lawyers. There will be much more to come on that story. Also, Erica Kirk showed up to Tyler Robinson's trial with Don Jr. after she pushed for a speedy trial. She did. Normally that's a right for the person that's on trial, but Erica Kirk. But I do have some good news. This is from Democracy Docket. A Trump-appointed judge in Georgia, Fulton County, Georgia, rejects the DOJ's demands for personal info of the 2020 Georgia election workers. We have had political hit jobs coming out of this DOJ who's being used as Donald Trump's attack dog. And he doesn't take no for an answer. After all the legal losses, they're still forging ahead with bogus election fraud probes, even though the statute of limitations has run out on that. Even though a court blocked Trump's attack on mail-in voting, we're still nervous about that. And then a judge in Minnesota, I think Judge Schultz, quashes DOJ subpoenas against Minnesota Democrats who oppose Trump's immigration raids. And also, the DOJ now 0 for 9 in voter roll cases after a Trump-appointed judge tosses its Maryland demand. Also, Trump is attacking Governor Newsom's wife. Now, Fulton County, Georgia, with a warrant that was not quashed by a judge, they took 600 boxes, ballots, and voted at it. That was that case. This is a different case. A federal judge blocked the Department of Justice's demands for the identities and personal information of thousands of people who helped run the 2020 election in Georgia's Fulton County, calling the request unreasonable. U.S. District Judge William Ray II, an appointee of President Donald Jessica Trump, said the DOJ's attempt to force Fulton County to divulge the election workers' names, home addresses, emails, and phone numbers through a subpoena was staggering. The judge found that the subpoena was clearly motivated by Trump's repeated false claims that the widespread voter fraud led to his 2020 loss in Georgia. Fulton County, Georgia is the bluest. That's where Atlanta is. It's dark, dark blue. Trump was never going to win Fulton County. Ever. 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 The judge found that the subpoena was clearly motivated by Trump's repeated. In this court's view, the DOJ does not possess a need to enforce the subpoena greater than the burden of disclosure on Fulton County, and as such, the court will not enforce it, Ray wrote. DOJ sought the subpoena months after the FBI raided Fulton County's main election facility and seized the 2020 election materials, including original 2020 ballots, as part of a criminal investigation. In response, the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections asked a federal court to quash the subpoena, arguing it was overly broad and represented another attempt to harass the president's political opponents. The DOJ argued the person's information would be used to investigate potential criminal actions in the years that followed the 2020. The major rejection comes after the FBI has taken steps to ramp up its election probe in Fulton County, including reassigning hundreds of FBI analysts to assist with the Atlanta field office's review of the seized election material. So Judge Ray said in his order Tuesday that the materials that the DOJ was seeking couldn't be used to charge anyone because the statute of limitations for any possible crime arising from the 2020 contest had long expired. An investigation of alleged criminal misconduct of anyone that may have led to the certification of the 2020 contest in Georgia would not be a legitimate use of the grand jury and its subpoena power, in that no valid indictment could issue from said grand jury due to the expiration of applicable statute of limitations, the judge wrote. Beyond being usable for the DOJ's investigation, the judge added that disclosing the election workers' personal information at this time would surely impact the Fulton County by chilling election workers' participation in future elections. Those who work to run our contests, particularly those who volunteered their time during the C-19 pandemic, should be valued and are necessary for successful contests in Fulton County going forward. That although the subpoena was issued by a grand jury, he didn't really think the grand jury did it. The grand jury process does not allow the DOJ to do whatever the DOJ wants because it ultimately operates under the auspices of the district court. So, is there anything wrong with the DOJ using grand jury to subpoena these records from Fulton County? In this court's view, yes. He added, everyone, whether you support the president or you do not, or whether you believe the 2020 contest was fair or believe it was not, should be concerned about the DOJ's ability to utilize the power of the grand jury to appropriate your private information without a legitimate purpose. In other words, if you're doing this now, and different administrations might come after your political appointees or you using these same tools that you're right now abusing. Plus, the subpoena was purportedly approved by a grand jury in the Northern District of Georgia, the federal judicial district governing Fulton County. However, it was issued by Dan Bishop, a staunch Trump ally who became U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of North Carolina last year and was later tapped to pursue contest-related probes across the country. In a footnote, I love these footnotes in these orders, Ray pointed out that so far he hasn't seen any evidence indicating that the grand jury in northern Georgia actually sought the information. Instead, it appears to have been pursued by out-of-district prosecutors who the DOJ has appointed to lead this inquiry, who have served this subpoena in the name of the grand jury. Woo! He's having none of it. None of it. None of it. Todd Blanche's confirmation hearing is going to be interesting because he's got a lot to answer for.